Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial. Today I wanted to talk about how you can actually install on Debian 11 Mautic, which is an email marketing platform. We're gonna be using Nginx to install Mautic here with PHP 8.0, which is the official PHP version that is supported right now by Mautic, as you can see. So from version 4.4.0, PHP 8.0 is supposed to be supported. So we're gonna check that up, because the newest version of Mautic is 4.4.5, at least at the moment when I'm recording this video. And the other way that we're gonna install Mautic, we're gonna use, of course, Docker containers, and we're gonna use Docker Compose. Okay, so without any further ado, let's start with the installation. So first of all, we need to of course update and upgrade everything, and then we can proceed with installing Nginx. Okay, once everything is installed, we're gonna enable Nginx, and then we're gonna start Nginx. Now we're gonna do chown, because we're gonna set the ownership for this path to user www.data. Next, we're gonna install MariaDB server and MariaDB client, because this is what I'm gonna be based on. You can of course install whatever you would like to have instead of MySQL. Instead of MariaDB, sorry. Takes a moment. Almost done. Okay, so now I'm gonna start MariaDB. I'm gonna enable MariaDB, and I'm gonna do a secure installation of MySQL. Okay, I'm gonna say yes, change the root password. I'm gonna go to no, yes, 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 and there we go. Next, what we're gonna do apt install, and we're gonna install some things. So LSB release, apt transport HTTPS and CA certificates, because this is gonna be required. Now we're gonna do wget, so we are pulling down a GPG key for our PHP 8.0 repository to be signed. Now we are pulling down, of course, we are adding the repository for PHP 8.0, and we're doing apt update to update everything, so we'll be able to download PHP. Now we can install PHP 8.0, and after that we're gonna also install the required extensions. Okay, now we're gonna install all the required extensions without JSON. Okay. Now we're gonna do, of course, systemctl start, so we're starting FPM service. Now we're gonna enable FPM service again, similar to MariaDB. Now we're gonna remove the default file from the Nginx sites enabled, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna remove the default file from Nginx sites available. And now I'm gonna just create my own default config file in Nginx config.d or conf.d. And I have a configuration prepared. So this is how it's gonna look. So listening on port 80, of course, server name none, root, user share, Nginx HTML, indexes, fetch CGI, of course I need to change this to 8.0. And that's all. Saving it. Now we can check the syntax. So Nginx -t. Syntax is okay, so let's reload everything. Okay, now we're gonna create HTML info.php. So we're gonna in user share Nginx HTML create an info.php file. In this file we're gonna add this little line. I'm gonna save it, and now we can open in the web browser HTTP IP address info.php, and there we go. PHP version 8.0 is installed successfully. Okay, so let's go back to our server. Now we're gonna remove this file because we don't need it, and it's better not to leave it. Okay, now we're gonna restart Nginx once again. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna create an etc systemd system Nginx service.d. I'm gonna make a directory there because I want to create another configuration file that is gonna be responsible for restarting my Nginx every time it goes down. So in etc systemd system nginx.service.d, I'm creating a configuration file called restart.conf, and in this file I am adding this. So service restart always, and of course the restart time every 5 seconds after it goes down. So let's check if it works. First, of course, after that we need to reload daemon. And now we're gonna kill Nginx, and we're gonna check the status. It's dead. Once again, it's up, so it works. So thanks to that, your Nginx is gonna get up every time it goes down from some kind of reason. Okay, so let's clear the screen, and we're now gonna proceed with the installation of Mautic. So I'm gonna pull down Mautic from wget, from GitHub using wget. So the URL is GitHub Mautic releases. The newest release is 4.4.5. If you want to check the newest release, if you're gonna be using this video in a later time, remember just to change this to the newest release. And remember checking what kind of PHP version is supported by Mautic, because I'm using PHP 8.0 right now. So just bear in mind. Okay. It's pulling down the installation. Okay, now I'm gonna install unzip because I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna create a directory in var www, which is called Mautic, and I'm gonna unzip everything from this file to this directory using unzip. And of course I'm gonna after that do chown. So again I'm giving the ownership for this user to this path. This is very important. Okay, now we're gonna go to MySQL and it's time to create our database. So we're gonna create a database called Mautic with the default char set as UTF-8. Next we're gonna grant all the privileges on Mautic, and my user is gonna be called Debian, and the password for the user is password in the database. So I'm gonna flash the privileges and exit. Okay, so now we came to the moment where we're gonna actually create a configuration file, the main configuration file for our Mautic, with all the necessary rules and stuff. So just bear in mind, if you're using Nginx, a web server, you will need to create the host file in the etc nginx conf.d. And if you install Mautic on iRedMail server, you should create the virtual host under etc nginx sites enabled directory. So remember, there's the difference here. So we're gonna create our configuration in etc nginx conf.d Mautic configuration. So I'm not using iRedMail server. Okay, I have a prepared configuration file here, so I'm just gonna copy it. Okay, let's see what does it have. So as you can see, I'm using SSL here. Port 443 is implemented. This is my IP address. I'm using also I'm implementing also HTTP2 in this configuration. You can use it as well if you would like to. This is my root, of course, var www Mautic. I'm using snippets, so I have two snippets added. The first snippet is self-signed certificates, with self-signed certificate and a key in this configuration file. And the other snippet is responsible for SSL parameters that are included in this configuration file. Here I have, of course, the logs and, of course, the body max size. Quite a lot of different things added here as well, as you can see. Of course, if you would like to, you can just copy all of this stuff and make another snippet called like options, or I don't know, additional options, additional configuration.conf, and you can put all of this in there. So you will have just like a little bit of code here, so maybe it will end somewhere around here, or maybe somewhere around here, and you will have like a very small nginx conf.d configuration, Mautic configuration file. Thanks to those snippets, everything is gonna be inside. For now, I'm just gonna leave it like it is. So basically, if you want to implement anything from this stuff to your own, just pause the video and you can use it, of course, for your own purposes. Everything is written down, what it does, so I'm not gonna go through all of those things. Okay, so let's just check if I have the right PHP FPM version. Here I have 8.0 and 8.0 is here. Okay, fine. Now let's just save everything. Okay, so everything has been saved. Our configuration file is done. I'm not gonna check the configuration file syntax because I need to first create the certificate, self-signed certificate, because I don't have a bot domain name. I didn't buy a domain name, so I'm using my own self-signed certificate for SSL. If you have a certificate, SSL certificate, it's very easy here. You just need to put the certificate on your server, and in the snippets you just show the folder where it resides, and that's it. Of course, the certificate and the key. Okay, so let's create the self-signed cert. I'm using my IP address, of course. Now I'm gonna create another thing, Diffie-Hellman parameter, which is gonna be saved into dhparameter.pem. I'm gonna include that as well. So after that, I'm just gonna create in Nginx snippets self-signed configuration, and here I'm gonna put, of course, my two things, so my certificate and my key that were just created by me. Next, I'm gonna create a snippet called SSL parameters. Here I'm gonna include all the necessary parameters. Okay, I think I got kicked off from my internet connection. Just a sec. Sorry about that. I guess I had a little misfunction here. Okay, going back to our parameter. So let's open SSL params.conf, and we're gonna include the parameters here. Okay, so I'm at the end including the Diffie-Hellman parameter. Okay, now I'm gonna do Nginx -t, so the syntax is okay. As you can see, the test went fine, so now I'm gonna reload everything. I'm gonna maybe even restart it. So restart Nginx. One more other thing that we can actually do here. We can go to /cphp php ini file. Can go to php ini file and we can locate memory limit, which I think I'm gonna set from 128 to 512. Gonna change that. Okay, and I'm gonna of course reload the FPM service. Right, so now let's open a web browser and let's check. Okay, so as you can see, some security things have been implemented, so no images, so the image of Mautic has been scratched, but basically we are in the installation page of Mautic, so let's proceed. Okay, database name is Mautic, username, password, now let's create just a standard admin. Okay, I'm not gonna implement any email server, SMTP server, or any email server details here. So let's go in. Okay, let's go here, let's check system info, and there we go, PHP 8.0. So that's one way how you can install Mautic using Nginx. Here you have of course all the details regarding the installation, where your files reside, stuff like that. So okay, so this is one way to do it. Now we should proceed with the other way. Okay, so I'm gonna close it down. And I need to actually prepare my machine again, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so now let's start with Docker. So first thing, of course, we need to install all the required things to use Docker Compose. So first of all, let's start with installing some stuff like GNU, PG, CA certificates, curl, and LSB release. I'm gonna use that. Okay, now I'm gonna make a directory called Nginx, and I'm gonna pull down using curl gpg key. Now I'm gonna add a repository using echo. Now we're gonna do chmod. I'm gonna modify the Nginx docker gpg file, and now we're gonna do apt-get update. And after all of this, we can actually install Docker. We're gonna be installing Docker CE, so the Community Edition CLI, Container.io, and Docker Compose plugin. Okay. So before all of this finishes, I need to check Docker Compose. What's the newest release of Docker Compose? The newest one is 2.15.1. Okay, so we're gonna use that. Gonna use the newest one. We need to wait a little bit longer. I'm gonna pause the video when it's done. Okay, so everything is done. Now let's actually pull down Docker Compose. I'm gonna use curl again, using here the latest version of Docker Compose. Since that is gonna also take a moment, I'm gonna pause the video again. Okay, so installation is done. Now we're gonna change the directory to user local bin. We're gonna do a chmod on Docker Compose file, which is located in this directory. And now we can do Docker Compose just to see if everything is fine. And there we go, we have Docker installed. Right, so in this directory, I'm just gonna make another directory called Mautic. I'm gonna go into this directory and I'm gonna now create a Docker Compose YAML file. and we're gonna use this file to compose our install of Docker of Mautic. So for a moment, let's go to Docker Hub and to Mautic. It said that it has been updated 2 months ago, at least when I'm recording this video. And as you can see, I have checked on the internet many different possibilities of installing this through Docker. So people often had the problem while they were composing the Docker file with the version of Mautic. So this is my configuration file for Mautic. As you can see, I have here in the image, I'm using Mautic version 4. If you would use Mautic, and latest, then you would get Mautic version 2. Why? Because as it is said here, note that during the 4.0 period, the Mautic latest tag still refers to Mautic 2. So if you put Mautic latest in your configuration file, you're not gonna get the latest version, which is version 4, you're gonna get version 2. So bear in mind, that's why it's better to put version 4 here, or version 4 Apache if you would like to base it on Apache, or of course version 4 FPM if you want to base it on Nginx. So I'm using version 4, Mautic DB, MySQL, so this is the name of my database, Mautic database. It's gonna be using MySQL port. Default port is 80. I've mapped port 9000 to it, so it's gonna open on port 9000. This is my volume, and these are my environment variables that I'm using here. So I'm also using PHP version, as you can see. And the PHP SHA 256, so PHP ASCII URL, ASC URL, sorry, PHP URL, and the version, of course. Why I implemented those things? Because I wanted to have PHP 8.0, because if I scratched all of this, deleted, and I left it without it, it would, in the default, it would install PHP version 7.4, so the updated one. Okay, so as you can see, I have here a Mautic DB image. It's MySQL, it's latest, so the newest MySQL environment. That's the only environment variable I'm using right now, MySQL root password. Bear in mind that this password is similar to this password here. Okay, and I think that's it. I'm just gonna save it. And let's do docker compose up -d. So since this is gonna take a while, I'm just gonna pause the video and pause it when it's done. It's gonna download quite a lot of stuff here. Although let's see how fast it's gonna do it. If it takes a long amount of time, I'm gonna pause the video. Yeah, so just gonna pause it for now. Okay, so it's almost done. Still pulling some stuff. I think it's working on Mautic. Has to extract all the stuff. Okay, now it's creating the images. And now we can check. And there we go, we have Mautic running, version 4 on port 9000, and we have MySQL latest version running on port 3306. Okay, so we got those two containers. So now for a better view, or maybe overview, let's call it that, I'm gonna also install Portainer because I like using it. Can always, of course, use something else. So I'm gonna install Portainer as well. Okay, it shouldn't be long. Also, it's pulling Portainer Community Edition. And I'm gonna be using a port 666 that is mapped to port 9443 because that's the main port of Portainer. You can change this port to whatever you like. Of course, if you have an SSL certificate, you can always also secure your Portainer. Okay, so now we have everything running. We can open our Portainer. Now let's go here. I'm gonna have three containers here, as you can see. Of course, the Portainer, Mautic. So we got like MySQL and latest, and of course Mautic version 4. And Mautic is on port 9000. So let's open Mautic. I just need to check if it's on HTTPS, because no, it's gonna be on HTTP, sorry. Okay, next step. We got everything here set up as we did previously. I just need to check what kind of password I used. Okay. So basically it catches everything from your config file, from the YAML file. Okay, I'm gonna create admin. Maybe something different. Okay. If you like Ghostbusters, you know the name. Okay. Now let's change, of course, to send mail, because I'm not gonna configure anything here. Okay, so there we go. We got Mautic. So, two things that I wanted to show you. Despite implementing everything here in Mautic, I'm gonna show you. I've changed all the stuff regarding this image. If it goes to those variables, environment variables, I just need to find where it was. Okay. Once again, dashboard. There it is. And if we go to duplicate and edit, we can check quite a lot of things here. So basically you can change many things here to this container. So you can change the port, add some new ports, change the existing ports of the container. You can of course check the volumes, network, and environment variables, and this is the thing that I wanted to show. So as you can see, I've implemented PHP URL, which is of course PHP 8.0, right? Those are my basic variables here. This is connected to PHP as well, 8.0, PHP version 8.0. We have here PHP. Okay. C flags. Okay. PHP directory, of course. So I think that's it. Of course, PHP memory limit. So we have here max upload here, execution time here. You can of course change all of those things if you would like to, and Mautic version, which is this one, so the newest one, of course. Labels, we got labels here as well, and Docker Compose version, newest one. restart policy. We can change the restart policy because I didn't include this in my Docker YAML file, so I'm gonna change it to unless stopped, and I'm gonna actually recreate the whole image right now. Let's see. Okay, deploy the container, replace. So now we're gonna wait. So the old container has been removed and the new one has been created with the changed variables. If we go to duplicate and edit and we go to restart policy, we can see that it has been applied to our container. I'm gonna just go here to categories, session expired. Okay, so I need to again need to log in again. And let's check the system info. And as you can see, despite installing and actually including in the YAML file those variables regarding PHP, I still have PHP version 7.4, and this is outdated, and it's now this Mautic install and is based on this version. So I guess this stuff didn't work that I tried to do here. You can of course scratch this and put whatever version you would like, and then redeploy the container again. I tried it. I tried to find on the internet a possible way to actually change this to version 8.0, but unfortunately I was unsuccessful. So as you can see, even though I found like even PHP SHA and all the other things that are required, valid paths for PHP 8.0, it still holds the 7.4 PHP. So this is the downside of using Docker at the moment, because in Nginx at least you have PHP 8.0, so the newest, so the most supported one. If you have the newest Mautic version as well, and here in Docker you're gonna still have 7.4. Of course, maybe I don't know how to actually set it up properly, and maybe somebody actually did the proper job and set up the PHP 8.0, but well, I couldn't set it up, as you can see. But of course you can mangle and tangle with all of this, and it can be changed differently. The system on itself works as you can see, so everything works here. Campaigns, forms, calendar, contacts, companies, nothing was added, so reports. Yeah, okay, so basically this is how it looks. Let's go to the dashboard once again. So yeah, this is Mautic. If you want to implement it through Docker containers, this is how you can redeploy it. If you want to implement it through Nginx, now you know how to do it. Okay, so I think that's gonna be it. If you like the video, like, subscribe. Of course, if you feel like being a supporter, you can always go for it. Links for supporters are in the description.